Hi, I'm Keith and welcome to my YouTube channel, my TikTok channel, my Instagram channel, and my art studio. Today, I have a work of art that is so over the top, and I'm bragging about myself, and I shouldn't do that. But now I can retire from doing art. I can just retire, because I'll never do anything as good as this. This is my terror bird. It's a hodgepodge of all sorts of kinds of art. It's ink wash, colored pencil. It is pencil. It is everything. It is awesome. I love this picture, and I'll never do one as good as this again. So, because of this, I can retire. It'd be better if you bought it, then I really could retire. But this one here is awesome, and I have a video right here following that shows you exactly how I made it. Now, when I was in high school, my art teacher told me I needed to be more humble and that I shouldn't brag about myself. But that's kind of tough when you go to all the work to study and practice and do this kind of stuff, and you can't say anything good about yourself. But you know what? This picture kicks ass. So here I am, putting on my, looks like my pencil work. And my pencil work, I think, is adequate. No, I'm kidding. It's fantastic. My pencil work is probably the best thing I do. It's probably better than my painting, actually. So, Terror Bird, it's, I don't know much about it. I should have Googled it, but I know they look cool, so I wanted to make another cool picture. And of course, this Terror Bird, I made my own. I think that thing there is like dreadlocks. So my Terror Bird has like dreadlocks. And you'll be able to see somewhere the picture I'm using for reference. It pops up here and there. But I added a bunch of stuff here, a whole bunch of stuff. On that reference, there's a parrot. And I only got the parrot out because I was trying to look for colors. And color-wise, I chose to go with orange and green. On the bill, I made my own orange out of mixing some red and some yellow. Made my own, because the orange out of the tube looks funny to me. I don't like the way it looks. So I like my version better. But the rest of it, I used colored pencil. And that worked out really, really well. I'm really liking these colored pencils. I'm using so many of them that I'm grinding them all down. And I'm going to need to go back to this art store and buy some more. So I'm putting on my outlines here. And this part here is just fun. I think that the drawing part alone could be its own picture. And I do sometimes take pictures of this, so I have just the drawing part. But this one, when it came out with the paint and the colored pencils, it blew me away. So right here, I'm putting on my ink wash. And you're probably not a follower, because I got very few followers, like 360 some odd followers. I'm always looking for more. But since you're probably not a follower, you don't know what ink wash is. In the upper left-hand corner, you see that little ink well? It's kind of bobbling back and forth. Well, there's water in there. I take my Higgins Black India ink and I put a couple drops in there, and I kind of mix it up, and it thins it down, and it gives me about a 40% gray tone. And I use that to do my shading. And I just love the way that India ink looks for shading, especially when it dries. It just looks really super cool. You know, I'm in love with my own work, and that's pretty sad. But this picture turned out so good. I've been on a roll lately. I've had several very, very, very good ones. So if you want to buy this, just let me know. Make me an offer. I will tear it out of this book. I'll stick it in an envelope, and I'll mail it to you. I take the PayPal. My wife has the Venmo. And you'd love to have this in your bathroom, maybe your kitchen. Personally, I think it looks best in your bedroom. My bedroom has lots of these in there. It's just cool. It's my own little gallery. So I am putting on the ink wash. I put that little that black part. I'm trying to make comic book art. I love dark blacks. I love thick borders. Right now I'm using the India ink right out of the bottle. And later I pull out some magic markers. And I have no problem using magic markers. I think marker pens, if you go to the art supply store, there's a whole section of just marker pens. And I think it's awesome. I mean, marker pens are a thing. You can get brush pens, all kinds of different marker pens. And I just use a plain Sharpie, and then I have the bigger, thicker one. And I have some brush pens that give me some really thin lines. I love those because it gives me my comic book look. So I'm using pencil. I go over it with my ink. And this is just the basis. This is like the underpainting. I learned underpainting when I went to the University of Nebraska in Kearney to become an art teacher. And I spent like 3.5, 4 years there, met my wife there, did lots of art there, and I never became an art teacher. Oh, right here, that orange, I made it, it's a custom blend of the yellow and red, and that looks more vibrant than when you buy it, get it right out of the tube. I have some orange in the tube. I just didn't want to use it. So you put your underpainting down, and right there, I'm going to go over that orange again. That's what's fun about painting, is I see painters out there who don't do underpainting, and I don't know why. There's only one artist I know. He's a famous guy. He's from like Alpay Effie is his name, from France. He never does underpaintings. Never. And his stuff always looks fantastic. But he has a trick for it. He knows what he's doing. And I will say this: his pictures don't have a lot of depth to them, but they look really good. But I'm trying to get depth in my painting by doing layer after layer after layer after layer. That's why I start with the pencil lines, and then I do the ink wash, and then I go with the color. Then I put the highlights on, which I'm doing right here. So I think what I'm doing right here is I add a little bit of white to my orange, and I'm putting on the highlights. And you have to do that very subtly. And I've learned the hard way. If you go too bright with your highlights too fast, it's kind of impressionistic, like Manet and Monet, but that's not what I wanted here. I wanted it to be more smooth. I wanted it to be blended. So I'd have to dip after I got my highlight on, I would dip my brush in water, wash it off, and dry it off, and come back with a clean brush and spread the paint and blend it. The only way you can't blend paint with a dirty brush. You can't. You have to wash it off between applications. That's one thing. There, I just taught you something. 4 years of school, about $100,000 in student loans, and I just taught you that you need to wash off your brush between applications when you're doing blending. There you go. That's a freebie for me. I'm trying to become a YouTuber. I'm like 600 subscribers short. So if you could please subscribe. I mean, I don't know anybody else out there who does this kind of stuff. I think most of your artists out there, I've seen some pretty phenomenal stuff on Instagram, stuff that blows me away. But I think sometimes my themes, the subjects I choose, scare people away. And I don't know why. My artwork is the horror movie version of what art is. All my stuff is like this. And I wouldn't do anything else. When I was in college, the teacher would set up a still life on a table of some boxes and other knick-knacky things. And we would, draw it. But that's an exercise on how to do stuff. I'm beyond that. I'm way beyond that. Actually, to brag about myself again, my art teacher would walk around. We had a class of like 30 students. He'd stop at my desk, pick up my artwork, and show it to everybody in class and say, "Do your stuff like this." I felt like I should have got paid to be a teacher because he was like using me for his example all the time. I would say most of the students in that class probably didn't belong there. I don't know why they were there, but and I went, and there's no jobs out there for this. There really is no jobs. And I knew going into it that I probably wouldn't find a job in art, and my only option would be teaching, which I really didn't want to do. I did not want to be an art teacher. I could tell you horror stories. And they sent me down to the elementary school to observe, and all I saw was kids screaming and yelling and running around. It reminded me back when I was in high school or whatnot, and I did not want to be a disciplinarian. I'm there to teach. These kids needed to be in jail or something. It wasn't my job to take care of them. So I did not want to be an art teacher, and I never finished it. I went like 4 years, and I paid and paid and paid forever. But eventually, I went into nursing. I've been a nurse for 23 years. That kind of tells you how old I am. I'm a kid of the 80s. I graduated in 1984. That tells you how old I am. Right now, I'm using colored pencils. Colored pencils. I love the way colored pencils work. I bought a set about 2 weeks ago, and I didn't know if I would like them or not. And I tell you what, I love them. I love the way colored pencil looks. I got paint on the left on the bill. I got colored pencil on the right on his face. It's a nice mixture. It's a mixed media paper. I'm doing a mixed media artwork. So I'm using pencil, colored pencil, acrylics, watercolor, and ink and magic markers. This is a hodgepodge of different things. And I think that is so cool how I can mix it up and make it out of so many different things. So right now I'm putting some blue, it's like a highlight, but it's an under highlight. It's a shadow highlight on my dreadlocks, on his chin. Do birds have chins? Probably not. But it's on the underside of his bill. And one thing I've learned from looking at comic books, and I don't own more than 2 or 3, but I've observed enough of it in my day, is that a lot of comic book artists will backfill their shadows with blue. It's the same way if you look at a picture of a snowdrift. The shadow on a snow is not gray or brown, it's blue. And so it's cool to use that blue color to backfill into the black, because it gives you a chance to make more roundedness and fill it in and give it more shape. I mean, I don't mind using gray tones. I mean, obviously I'm using ink wash, and the ink wash makes gray tones, but what that actually does is it gives you your values ahead of time. There's an art style called grisaille, I think it's called, where artists will do all their gray tones first, then go back with their paint, they'll thin it down and make a wash or a glaze. That's kind of what I did here. Actually, it is what I did here. All of that gets buried once I start putting the paint on, and I really hate that. But some of that ink wash still shines through and gives me my contours, and that's what gives my pictures of that 3D look. Now, my terror bird has hair. Is that hair, or is that those little fine feathers? We'll call it fine feathers. And I'm using one of my little fine brush pens to do that. And I love that brush pen. It's almost dry, and I need to go buy some more. But it came in a set of like 10 pens. And I don't want to pay for 10 pens to get the one I want. So I got to figure something out here. But I really like that pen quite a bit. So I'm putting on that. And what am I doing here? It looks like I'm going through and put some cross-hatching in. I love cross-hatching. Once again, that's a part of comic book art. Cross-hatching and contour lines, all that stuff. I like comic book art. I probably should buy more comic books, but at my age, I know how this works. Because I learned how to draw from Mad Magazine. I had a subscription when I was in junior high, and I tell you, I learned about cross-hatching, I learned about ink wash, I learned all that stuff back when I was about 15 years old, and I've never forgot it. I still use it to this day. It's weird how that imprints in your brain, and you learn it, and it just stays there. So right now, I think I have a brush. What am I doing with that brush? I am putting some highlights on. I have some paint, white paint in an airbrush tube that I bought. I don't airbrush. I tried it back when I was a kid, and I didn't really like it because it's kind of messy. But I used it here because it's thin, and I dipped my sharp brush into it, and I used it for highlights. I could have just thinned down my white acrylic just as easy, or just got some watercolors. It's all acrylic paint anyway. Now I'm looking at composition-wise. Let's talk about composition for a second. I knew I needed something on the back side of this bird to balance out the front. I thought, what would be cool? Maybe some black splotches or black something. And this worked out so good to even it out. I just love the way that looks. So I'm going through and I'm adding some smaller versions of those big black dots, kind of make it varied and give us more interest. It's all about giving it interest. So I went through there and I did that. And eventually I go through with my blue pencil, and I do some undershading and some orange on top of those as well. I don't know if you can see it in this video. When you like and subscribe this, I suggest you put this on your big screen TV and watch this, because on your phone, this is no good on your phone. You need to see art big. Put it on your phone. So please like and subscribe, because I need about 400 more subscribers in order to become a YouTuber. And I want to become a YouTuber and make tons and tons of money, like Mr. Beast, So like it, subscribe it, share it, and I would appreciate it if you would do that. I'm coming to the end here. Don't click off yet, because I'm going to put some final highlights on, and you need to know about highlights. If you're an artist, you need to know how to do this. So thank you for being here. I do appreciate it, and like and subscribe.